Everyone, please welcome Alexis Monk, someone who represents the best of what our brand stands for. Good job. Taylor, let's do it.
Thank you. Hello. Growing up, I was raised with my 4 brothers plus my single mom. We lived a low-income life, living welfare check to welfare check. Even though we didn't live in the best circumstances, my family was still really close. And it was always my mom and my brothers and I against the world. But for some reason, I was a very angry child. And for a long time, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I would lash out on almost everybody on a daily basis, and it was because I felt as though I was constantly being judged by those around me for my circumstances. And that no matter what I did, I would never succeed in life. It didn't help that in school I had a lot of learning disabilities that made it difficult for me to learn at the same pace as my peers. I lacked in self-confidence, and I didn't believe in myself. I was a very shy and introverted person, and because of this, making friends was very challenging. Whenever I'd tell my camp friends how I was at home, they would always be so surprised, because the camp me was the complete opposite. I would always be the first person to say hi. I would always be cracking jokes. I would take the role of a leader without any thought, and I would constantly ask questions, sometimes too much, but it was just so I could further my knowledge in everything I was doing. To this day, I honestly couldn't tell you all why I was so different at camp. Maybe it was because I was around people who were just like me, or maybe it was because I was in a different environment. But what's amazing is that the camp me is now the real me in every aspect of my life. As you may know, the foundation sends those who come from disadvantaged homes. So, what I mean from those like me are that the people who I was around at camp had not always had it easy in life. Whether it was they were in relative poverty, they lost a parent, or they may just have had learning disabilities like me. When I was at school, there wasn't that many people who were going through what I was going through. And if they were the type of people that fell into the stigma that people who were poor didn't try, or that they just fell into the wrong crowd. Poor people have this stigma surrounding them, that the reason that they become the way that they are is because they didn't try in school, that they would rather do things other than homework, and that may be true in some cases, but not all. What people don't see is that poverty could be a result of the snowball effect. Some people are born into poverty, raised with little resources to help them succeed, and that results in poor academic performance, meaning they may not graduate and they may not start a career. Add on people with more privilege saying that they don't belong, people could get discouraged. This was the path that my mom happened to fall into. She was born into a family who did drugs. She had little money, and she fell into the wrong crowd. And she had my eldest brother at 16. As soon as she had him, she stopped what she was doing, and she tried to fix up her act. 4 children later, and raising them all by herself, she removed us from that toxic environment. However, she still wasn't able to provide us with the resources to help us in school. And she wasn't equipped herself to help us. So, growing up in school, I struggled a lot. I was a couple grade levels behind all my classmates. I had this thing called an IEP, which helped me in almost every subject except for gym. To say the least, I was discouraged. I didn't think I was going to graduate. In high school, there are 3 grade levels. Each get progressively harder. It was locally developed, applied, and academic. Locally developed gets you into no post-secondary school at all. Applied gets you into community college, and academic gets you into university. I was told in grade 8 I would not be able to go into applied, and I would probably fail if I did, leaving me to almost choose locally developed. But my mom did not like that at all, and she said that I should go into applied. So I did. And I was getting 80s. So I was like, okay, maybe I should try academic. And in grade 10, my English teacher looked me dead in the eyes, and she said, you would fail. So I did it. Back to camp, as I mentioned, I was a very angry child. And I remember in my first year, I got into a verbal fight with some of my cabin mates over something so insignificant that I don't remember. But this was an important memory for me because I learned that it is okay to lash out and be angry, so long as you're able to learn from it and know that there are other ways for you to express yourself. And I learned this through having a sit-down talk with my counselors, because at home, I never had those types of conversations. I'd often just lash out, run to my room, and be left alone with my own thoughts. Moving on to my second year, about 10 days before I was supposed to go to Winnipeg, my best friend and my #1 supporter passed away from lung cancer. My mom. I don't know how Home Office found out, but I remember they reached out to me asking if I still wanted to go. And they let me know that it was okay if I didn't, and that I just skipped that year and just moved on to the next one next year. The last thing I wanted to do was be at home without my mom. So I decided to go. I went because I knew I was going to be able to be with people who would help support me through what I was going through in my life, which has proved to be correct, because that very first night, during evening reflection, with my cabin mates, counselors, and I, all sitting on a circle in our bunkhouse floor, we were answering a question related to having dinner with someone either dead or alive, but I could be wrong about that, so don't quote me on that. But I remember disclosing what happened prior to my arrival at camp. The amount of love, empathy, and support that I received was absolutely crazy. I knew in that moment, after everybody hugged me, that I had made the right decision. Throughout the rest of the session, no one treated me as this girl who lost her mom. They didn't pity me. They just saw a girl who persevered through a hard time. And that is exactly what I know my mom would have wanted for me, and that she would have been so proud of my decision to go. Fast forward to the 3rd and 4th levels of the program. Each involve an extended wilderness trip that just gets harder and harder each level. On one level, I learned how being in the wilderness for 5 days wasn't all that bad, and it was actually therapeutic. Being on the water for hours a day, hearing the sounds of nature, and being left alone in your own thoughts is the best escape from reality you could possibly get. I mean, besides from all the bugs, but all that time to yourself helps you get to know yourself. And on the other level, it was one of the most challenging things I have done in my entire life. Imagine this: 7 days in the wilderness with 8 other people that you do not know that well, navigating through a wilderness area with only a map, portaging on rough trails with heavy packs on your back and canoes on your head, and having mosquitoes follow your every move. Crazy. But from the long chats at night to the walks in nature to do our business, if you know what I mean, and my amazing counselor, Monty, I realized I was able to push myself to my limits, both mentally and physically. Through the constant pep talk saying you could do this, and my mind over and over again with the 20+ pounds on my back. In my 5th year, I realized how much camp has actually made me a better person. I reflected on who I was at the start and who I was finishing as. I would help mentor the younger levels by sitting in on their evening reflections and sharing my story, and I knew that my mom would be proud of what I was able to accomplish over the past 5 years. From being that shy little girl who could barely handle my own emotions, to that girl who people felt comfortable sharing their emotions to, and who some may even look up to. And when I think about what camp has done for me over the past 6 years, from being a camper to a counselor, is that no matter what your parents have gone through, good or bad, it is how you decide to carry on the legacy. I've learned that in order to succeed, you have to believe in yourself, whether it's giving yourself pep talks on a tough portage in Algonquin Park with the mosquitoes covering your legs, or pushing yourself to get out of your comfort zone and talk to new people. It is up to you to create your legacy. Don't let others create it for you. Because of camp, I realized my potential. If I was able to persevere in the wilderness, then I could persevere at home too. And I remember I moved schools in grade 11, and my grade 11 English teacher came up to me and she said, "You're not supposed to be in this class. You deserve to be an academic." I almost cried. This was the first time in my life outside of camp that someone other than my family has told me that they believed in me. And that meant the world to me. I am now in my second year of university, studying to become a high school teacher, so that I, thank you, so that I can be that influence on youth, to let them know that they are capable of doing anything, so long as they believe in themselves and are willing to do the work to persevere. Even though all throughout my life, I was told that I was not smart enough to be in a higher grade level, nor was I able to go to university. It wasn't until my grade 11 English teacher told me that I could do it, that I realized that there were people outside of camp who believed in me. So, from that point on, I pushed myself every day to prove the people who said I couldn't do it wrong. I still have the same amount of learning disabilities as I did when I was younger, but I'm able to persevere now because of it. When I came back to camp as a counselor at Onondaga Farms this past summer, it was so cool for me to come back to the place where I not only started my 5-year journey, but also ended it. At the end of level 5, I didn't think I would learn anything new about myself from the foundation, but I was wrong. It was so impactful seeing the shy, timid youth come off the bus on the first day and watching them slowly come out of their shells over the course of the 9 days. The bonds I made with my campers, the friends I've made, and the places I've been from working with this foundation has taught me so much about not taking things for granted. As a camper, I never truly valued the work and effort that went into making a camp session so amazing, all the details and the care it takes, or how emotionally exhausting it can be sometimes. But in all honesty, seeing the campers having the experience that they have and how much they grow and change made up for it. For those of you who don't know, at camp, all counselors get a camp name that represents their personality or something funny that they've done. My camp name got chosen for me by a very close friend of mine, and it was Nala from The Lion King. I kept this name because it brought me into a full circle of what the foundation has done for me. Since my first time being a part of the Hakuna Matatas during my first year, and I want to leave you all with a quote from The Lion King that I'd often let my campers know. Yes, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you could either run from it or learn from it. Thank you for everything you have done to make this possible. Without your support through Camp Day and every other way throughout the year, some of these youths may not have been given the opportunity to find their potential the same way that I did. You have changed my story and many others, and you helped me break that cycle I was mentioning earlier. And I know my mom would have been so proud of where I am now. Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Very well done. You know, folks, something you should know, Alexis got here 2 days ago, and we met over on the side, and we came through the back. We came up the back way onto the stage, and we got to about here, and I guarantee you, for most of you, if you were standing here, your knees would buckle a little bit. And Alexis looked out of the room and said, okay, it's a big room. And then I heard her say quietly to herself, I got this. I got this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're very, very proud of you.